live struggle legacy. It's a whole movement.
Hey everybody, it's your boy MP, Live Struggle Legacy, and welcome to episode 13 of the Live Struggle Legacy podcast. We are almost done with season 1, y'all. I want to thank everybody for coming this far with us. Make sure if you haven't already done so, you subscribe, follow, like, comment, get active. Let us know you're listening, man. I can't tell you what that does for the algorithm so we can get this story in front of more people. So thank you all for tuning in. If you are just now tuning in, you definitely want to go listen to the previous episodes because we are in the middle of a story. Now, there's some things I want to talk about that I didn't talk about in the last podcast. Where we left off, I had just gotten to the halfway house, had just got my first job, and I was starting to talk about home confinement. We hadn't quite made it there. And I was talking about how difficult it is to be a convict, a convicted felon, especially if you've done time. I mean, if you've done a couple years, that's a rough transition, but you got people that have done 15, 20, even 30 years in prison, the majority of their adult life in prison. And you've seen in the movies how when a person's been locked up that long, and you would think they would be excited to go home, but what you don't think about is not everybody has a home to go to. Not everybody has a family to go to. And some people's family may have turned on them while they were in prison or felt like that person turned on them. So, you know, I'm blessed to have had the family that I have to come home to and have all these people looking out. And if you're one of those people and you're watching this, I can't thank you enough. I mean, there was a woman who I was messing with before I went away, and I didn't hear from her much the whole time I was away. And you know, you start to think people forgot about you. And me personally, I don't take it personally. I know I took myself out. It's nobody's fault out there that I'm in here. That's my own damn fault. But what was amazing is this person, this unbelievable woman. Well, first of all, there was no Facebook when I went away. There was, what was it? MySpace, right? So I came home and everybody's on Facebook, right? IG was just starting to be a thing. IG was like brand new. So my sister actually made me a Facebook account so that I could connect with people from the halfway house because I had internet at the halfway house. And one of the first people who sent me a friend request was this female friend of mine who I was seeing. We were dating right before I went in, and so I can't tell you how helpful this girl was. Like, she would take me back and forth to the halfway house and, you know, bring me food and just really take good care of me, plus, you know, moral support. And you know, so if you're out there watching this and you know who you are, I just want to thank you, and all of my bros who would come by. And so, you know, it's not easy, but I tell you what, it was a lot easier for me knowing that I had all these people. And I can't say that I couldn't have done it without them, but it sure helped tremendously to have all these people. And something I touched on in the last episode, you know, what people like to do when you come home is they like to take you out to the strip club, and if they're balling, they like to maybe hand you a big old stack of ones. But let me tell you something, man. That happened with me and somebody, you know, so-called homeboy, you know. But if you really cared for me and supported me and what I had going on, you'd slip me those hundreds and tell me to go do something, you know, get some studio time, bro. You know I'm trying to record and it costs money, right? But I'm not out there asking for anybody, and I'm not saying, and I'm asking anything of anybody, and I'm not saying that's what anybody should do for me. Nobody owed me a thing. But if you're going to take me to the strip club and go get $5,000 in ones to have these women that could care less about me come over and pretend to like me, you know what I mean? Like, sure, that felt good. And you may say, oh, you know, you should be grateful, and I'm grateful that a homie would do that. But you can't help but to think, man, do you know what kind of starter pack that would be for somebody? To give them $5,000 to get back on their feet? I mean, that's a car and a wardrobe and everything you need to actually start a business. And you want to go blow it on your bro at the strip clubs because you could show him how you've been chewing, how well you've been doing. Right? And then when all that money's gone, you wake up with your hangover and still trying to go find that job or wash these cars or go up in these attics and insulate. You know what I mean? So, like, if you're one of those people who thinks that's the way you take care of your bro when he comes home, okay, that's cool. But, man, the best thing somebody could have done for me is give me a job. Give me a place to stay. Right? So I was at the halfway house, I want to say for like 3 months. They would give me home passes. And I told you a little bit about the city bus. But when I finally got the job with my bro doing the insulation, they finally let me go on home confinement. Now that's when they put an ankle monitor on me, right? But these texts I told you about, I really went off on these texts. But let me tell you why. I told you a little bit why. Well, I would be trying to do my job. I'd be up in up in an attic somewhere in a crawl space. We were doing stuff at Tampa General. We were doing stuff over there at the stadium on Del Mabry. Like we were doing stuff everywhere. And I'm up on a ladder, a big tall ass ladder. I'm soaking wet with sweat. My ankle monitor starts buzzing. They want me to call them immediately, right? But then I have to call and say where I'm at. And then what do? They call my employer, right? To see if I am where I'm supposed to be or if I'm telling them the truth, right? Now, luckily, the employer was my bro. But my bro starts getting mad at me. He's like, yo, these people are calling me like 5 times a day asking me where you're at. They're like tying up my phone and they're being rude. And it's like they're trying to catch me wrong when clearly I'm working. So you can only put your mind put yourself in the mind of an employer. Think about if that's not your bro, if that's not somebody you're trying to help out. If you're trying to run a business, you hire an employee to add value to your business. You don't hire a charity case. And you got these people calling you, blowing you up all day. They make it harder for the employer than they do, than it would be if they didn't hire you. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like a burden to have one of these convicts come work for you. You can't work Wednesdays. Every Wednesday I had to go to the halfway house. So if you got a job that's Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and those are your expected hours of engagement, hours of responsibility, but you got to take a whole day out of that 5 days a week to go to the halfway house and sit there all day and pee in a cup and breathe in a breathalyzer and get treated like a lower life form by these degenerate fucks. You know what I mean? Like, so I just wanted to touch on some more of that because I don't think a lot of people understand. It's easy to judge people for where they are in life if you've never been through that and you've never had that, right? And you could say, yeah, we all committed crimes and we signed up for it to a certain extent, but at the same time, like, if you don't want people going up in your shit while you sleep, breaking and stealing your shit, like, you better have some empathy and compassion because you're breeding animosity, you're breeding monsters by treating people like lower life forms. You can only treat a person like that so much before they finally start to give you what you saw in them. So it's like try to see better in people, right? And try to lend a helping hand or just be kind and understanding and understand that, they need your help. You know what I mean? We want to help everybody else in the world that we don't know in all these different countries, right? But what about our own? I mean, this is an industry. Right? It's a trap from the gate. I can't tell you how similar my high school was to a medium high federal correctional complex. You got X amount of time to get to class and then you're locked in. You got X amount of time to get to the rec yard and then you're locked in. Right? You got hallway monitors patrolling the hallways. You got a fence around the high school. You got SROs patrolling. They're already treating you like a criminal, man. So if you don't have moral support at home and you don't have this upbringing and this refined moral compass, I mean, you're being institutionalized before you even catch your first case. I hope this resonates. And if you want to start a conversation, drop it in the comments or reach out. I'll bring you on the podcast. We can talk about it. That's a whole nother podcast. So, getting back into the story, I made it to home confinement, and it was a blessing. I had an ankle monitor, and I would catch, on average, 8 city buses. I would have to catch all these connecting buses. This is before my bro gave me the company truck that I could take around. And so I'd have to me and like, this is my bro, because I had to catch all these connecting buses. You know, when you're doing construction on a commercial level, work starts around 5 a.m. You need to be there, like, by the time the sun comes up, you better be ready to work, already set up and everything, right? But when you're catching these city buses, the first city bus runs at 5. And I got to connect, at least 3 other connecting buses to get out to Tampa or up US 19 and Clearwater. That's where these job sites are. So, you might catch your first bus at 5. I don't get to the job site until like 8. So, I'm missing 3 hours of work that I can't get paid for. Plus, I'm slowing the job down. You know what I mean? Like, these are the things that you're up against as a convict. And I got people, right? But I can't have my people go driving me all around, taking me to work. I'm taking the city bus. But I will tell you, I used to love taking that city bus. I had my first smartphone. It was like a cheap Kyocera, right? And I had my Skull Candy earbuds. So, I'm listening. At the time, I didn't have paid subscriptions to anything. I had like SoundCloud. SoundCloud was brand new to me. I was loving SoundCloud. I'm making these little mixes on SoundCloud. I'm reading, I'm writing, and like I used to call it my limousine. Sometimes I'd be about to miss the bus stop because I'd be so, gone in my music or gone in my book, and taking these long, hour and a half, sometimes 2-hour bus rides just all across Tampa Bay. And then I would go work, in the summertime doing insulation. I'd be soaking wet. I mean, soaking wet in the summertime. It's 90 some degrees plus humidity. It's like 100 some degrees up in these attics. And then I'm soaking wet. I'm carrying all this gear with me. I got my hard hat. I used to carry around a fillet knife because I had to cut the insulation. I got all this stuff that I'm carrying. And then I got to jump on a city bus, and it's about 58 degrees in the city bus. Now I'm freezing for another hour and a half, 2 hours as I take it back to the house, right? And one funny thing about my dad, he showed me all this love, but my dad did not want any of that fiberglass in his house. He used to make me strip down to my drawers outside the front door, and I'd have to bag up all my what he called contaminated work clothes, and then I would have to put in a pass because my daddy was like, no way in hell you're washing your clothes in my washing machine. So I would have to use a pass to go to the local laundromat in Coke Key, and I would have to, but I'm not gonna lie, I love doing that. I'd be sitting there, playing in my phone, doing my laundry. It got me out of the house. I was on home confinement. So I did that for, I don't remember exact dates, but I probably worked for my bro for like 6 months. And then just like I told you, I was so sick of that fiberglass. As soon as I found something else, I quit. So I detailed cars for a while. And shout out to my bro, my Cody actually got me that job detailing cars. I did that for a little while. It was awful. It was awful. I mean, we were getting paid like $10 to do a full detail, and it's no tips. We're working for a dealership. But the whole time I'm doing this, I'm still putting in applications at gyms. I'm still going to all these different job interviews, and it's the same old shit. Now, once you're at home confinement, you no longer have to give them that stupid piece of paper that says I'm an inmate and I'm living at a halfway house. You don't have to do that anymore. So it got a little bit better, but I'm trying to find jobs way out in like Largo and Clearwater, and I got an ankle monitor. I'm catching the city bus. Like, they don't want to see. Eventually, I'm going to wear some shorts, so they're going to see it through my pants. I have to tell them at some point that I'm on home confinement. So it really didn't go well, and I wasn't making that much money, washing cars. But I will say, like, back on the music tip, I had all this music on deck, And I had a date as soon as I got off home confinement. I got in the studio. So shout out to DJ Bose. He had a beat on deck for me. Shout out to Cohan the Bakery Man. I was telling you in an earlier episode that I had left some equipment with him, and with the expectation of him to promote the music. But life goes on. I'm not mad at anybody, but I will say he did have a studio. It wasn't being used, so he let me use the studio. I recorded my first track. It was called "I'm Back." I put it out on SoundCloud. I did not release it officially. But it felt real good to be back in the stew. It felt real good to be, living my passion, even though I didn't have the funds to go do mixing, go do mastering, So I'm grinding, y'all. I'm just grinding, and I got this big ambition, but I got these, real little paychecks. But I'm just grateful. You know what I mean? I know I can't take shortcuts, so little by little, I'm trying to find opportunities where I can make the amount of money that I need to make and still be able to cover my bills, my expenses, and have a little something aside to be able to book studio time in terms of mixing, mastering, because it's expensive, y'all. So I ended up getting a job at Pods. But before I tell you about Pods, so my same bro that got me the job doing the installation hired me. He loved my music, always have. Was like one of my biggest fans. He was one of the ones that went to a different high school and used to be passing the CD around to all the Bogey people. I went to Lakewood, and so Bogey was like a different world, but they had love for us, we had love for them. And that first song I told you I made with AG, Amos, and the homies, he's passing that song all around Bogasiego when we were in high school. So he's always been a fan, always been my bro, my brother. So he puts me onto this producer dude. He's like, man, I really want you to meet this dude. And I'm a little bit jaded in terms of like people giving me false promises, false hopes, and I'm grateful for those that do. But a lot of times people say your dream, like, yo, you're doing this, you're doing that. I'm gonna sign you to this label, or I'm gonna fund your project. A lot of people said these type of things and had my hopes up and then didn't deliver. So you kind of get burned out, you kind of get jaded, and you lose faith in people, right? So I'm trying to do it all myself. I'm not trying to depend on anybody. But he introduced me to the homie G. I just call him G for right now, right? Well, producer name, Balboa. Yes, sir. Shout out Balboa. So from day one, I get with Balboa. Oh, and shout out to the homie Ruger Rye, because he was the one that kind of set that up. It was supposed to be a song I was supposed to make with the homie Ruger Rye. And it was supposed to be produced by G, by the homie Balboa. So, Ruger Rye was kind of doing his own thing in his own world. So no love lost. I get that. So, G and I, though, we met on day one, and we were up all night in the studio. Come to find out, he's from, a close area to where I was from. We knew a lot of the same people, so we're catching up on street shit. And then another dude who, cleaned up his life and doing right, learned from other people's mistakes, and, doing good out here in this free world, right? So, my bro starts playing these beats for me, and C-Mill was always my in-house producer. And it really hurt my heart to see that C-Mill wasn't passionate and wasn't like putting in work to be able to do that, right? So I had to let that go. But in meeting G, Balboa, it's like, man, I got somebody that knows where I'm coming from, that appreciates, what I can do with this mic and these lyrics and these beats. And we started cooking. And I'm not going to sit there. I mean, dude showed me love, but of course I'm breaking him off. I'm not asking the man to stay up all night in the studio cooking up for me and not breaking him off at least something. But he was showing love. Like, he might as well have been doing it for free. But I had to make sure I took care of my bro. So and when I tell you A1 production, I'm talking about I'll put bro up against you name it. I don't want to start shouting out all these producers I don't know. But let's just say this. I will put Balboa up against any industry producer. Any. I mean, you name it. My bro he's like that. So we start cooking, we start working on some tracks, and a lot of these tracks are going on the back burner, but at least now I find a way we can record, and we're not doing any mixing, and this is all me fresh out, fresh out the halfway house, fresh off the home confinement. As soon as I got that ankle monitor clip, I'm making moves, y'all. And that's around the same time that my brother JJ, R. White, set up the homecoming show. I met Chief. We're trying to do the documentary, but I can't keep asking people for favors. I need to make my own money. I need to do this. I need to fund my own shit, right? So that's when I got the job at Pods, doing the telemarketing thing, which I hated. I'll be honest, and I couldn't wait to get out of there because in the meantime, I'm still putting my fitness resume out. To everybody, and so there's this brand, this company, and I'm giving them free promo right now because they gave me an opportunity when nobody wouldn't. But let me tell you something. That opportunity did not come easy. When I was in Williamsburg camp, one of my bros, matter of fact, it was the comedian bro that I told you about with the fart jar and used to do the funny caricatures. So, everybody respected what I had going on in prison in terms of fitness and yoga and the value that I could bring in terms of training and coaching, right? So he had, I want to say it was like a Forbes magazine, and he brings it to me. It's like, these are the top performing franchises in fitness, and on the top, or one of the top ones, it was Orange Theory Fitness. And the crazy thing is, like, the way I would do my classes in prison was I would do interval training, high intensity interval training, and I would preach that to everybody. And I actually came up with this plan that I was going to try to take off with when I came home. I called it like the businessman's workout, right? I used to call it the lean routine. I never really did anything with it, but I called it the lean routine, a workout designed specifically for people who are busy and have very little time. And the whole concept of this was to have like a 45 minute workout where you work your whole body and you get your heart rate up so high that you burn calories post workout, right? So this is, this isn't an original concept. This is how HIIT works, high intensity interval training, and that was my core competency the whole time I was away, right? That was the way I worked out. That's the way that I trained other people. And then I see this whole franchise model, this fastest growing franchise model mapped out in this magazine. It's probably like 2010. So like 4 years before I went home, dude planted a seed in my head. So now that was when I did my job search pass, that was one of the first places I went to. Was Orange Theory. And one of the only places where the dude, I'm not going to say his name, he's my brother to this day, but the dude that looked at my application, he was like, I gave him the piece of paper to sign, and of course, like, I got my head down, I'm like, here it goes, right? And he looks at me, he's like, oh, listen, bro, I wish I could do something for you, man. My brother's locked up right now. He's like, and I understand exactly where you're at, and I know how hard it is. He's like, man, you could go get a job at the Largo location, you should hit them up. Well, at the time, that was a little too far for me to try to commute to be, looking for an opportunity that I may or may not get. I already been there, done that with all the other gym franchises, and it wasn't working out. So I was just like, you know what? I'll revisit this when I get some transportation. So mind you, being on home confinement, I was blessed in the sense that I had no bills. So every little bit of money that I get, I'm saving. And my dad would bless me. Like, I had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I had my 3 meals. Like, the only money I had to spend was like a little extra something if I'm out and I want an extra snack, or I want to go buy a fancy coffee or something like that, right? So other than that, I got to stack. And by the time I got to like 8-9 months of home confinement, now I could go get a spot. So I got a little spot, real nice spot in South Pasadena. And by now I'm washing cars. But before I got the spot, I had another bro looking out for me. So my bro, and I don't want to say his name because I don't know if he wants to be named, but he was working at like a buy here, pay here lot, and he gave me a sweet deal on a Nissan Altima. And I had no credit, but he let me give him like a small down payment and then just finance, in-house finance. I just had to make that payment every month. And sweet deal. It had like maybe 100,000 miles on it. It was a 2001. It was perfect. There was nothing wrong with that car. And that's what got me around. That's what was getting me to all these different job interviews. So now I'm not working at the dealership washing cars anymore. I'm working at Pods. I'm miserable at Pods. So I'm really like, now I'm like lightweight aggressive trying to get this fitness vision off the ground, because it's like, it's been damn near a year. I got the best resume, maybe not the best, but it's up there. I'm telling you, I can compete with people who have master's degrees, who have careers in this. Like I'm not intimidated in any way, shape, or form, and my resume work would have vouched for that. So, but I got the stigma. So finally I go back to Orange Theory, and I'm just like, oh, matter of fact, there was a dude, shout out to Matt, Coach Matt from Orange Theory, much love. He done been through his thing too. And so, when you've been through something, you can identify with people, and you may want to offer up an opportunity. But what he said, I'm not going to lie, in the beginning, I could tell dude took me for a joke. I don't look fitness. I don't talk fitness, not according to them. I don't do steroids. I'm not big. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a little guy. Most of these fitness coaches are these big, bulky, steroid guys, former Division I athletes. You know what I mean? And I'm just this little guy with a mean tongue game. You know what I mean? I got a mouthpiece. I can talk the talk, but they don't think I can walk it. So in order to get on with Orange Theory Fitness, what I had to do was I had to shadow, I think it was like 8 classes, and then take 8 classes. And shadowing classes is kind of weird because the coach has to approve it. He has to say it's okay. And then taking them was kind of cool because you do get to work out for free. And they kind of use that to kind of filter people, because you're doing a whole bunch of work for free, right? So you got to really want it. And I took the first class, and here I'm thinking I'm in such good shape. I'm not gonna lie, that class whooped my ass. And just to paint a picture, if you've never done one of these classes, I was blown away, because it's a gym, right? And I'd only read about it in a magazine. I'd never done the workout. And their whole model is interval training. That's the whole thing. That's the connection. When you think about universe, connecting dots and laying things out before you, and things, being, I guess you could say, divinely orchestrated. I think it's safe to say that, because I feel like there's definitely a higher power at play here. Me personally, I believe that. So, you see that connection in, 2010, and then it brings you all the way to, this is 2015, okay, when I got out. So, and, to home confinement. And so, anyway, the dude was giving me a opportunity, but I think it was kind of half-hearted, because I didn't think that I don't think he thought I was going to stick with it, and I stuck with it. And next thing you know, I'm like a puppy dog. I'm showing up there. I ain't got shit else to do. I ain't got to be at work till 8. I'm showing up for that 5 a.m. What time you get there in the morning? 4:30? All right, I'll be there at 4:15. I would literally be sitting at the steps waiting. Every day he was there, or whatever coach, and I would always ask the other coaches, hey, do you mind if I shadow? I'm trying to become a coach. I'd show up, right? And of course, the members is kind of a higher standard, so it's a little bit pricey, right? So you got some people in there, they feel a little bit entitled, and I respect that they're paying a lot of money. They don't want some weirdo lurking. Little did they know a convict lurking, right? If they had known that, I would have been out of there. They probably would have called the law, right? But the whole case in point was nobody ran me off. Maybe a few people gave me some side eyes, and then a couple of the members did tell the coaches, like, hey, I don't want him sitting in on my class. I pay a lot of money for this. Okay, fine. So then I would just work around that person's class. So I was respectful. I was courteous, and I kept doing this and doing this and doing this while working this Pods job. And so finally, I met all the criteria in order to become a coach. And they said, okay, now you can test out, but you have to go through coaches training. So the coaches training was like a 2-week program. And they give you the manual, you got to sign the NDAs, the non-disclosures, and you go with seasoned head coaches, and you learn all about the brand, you learn all about the workout, you learn all the expectations, right? And then you test out. Now, test out was like Hunger Games. It's like, now, first of all, every single person that I met in coaches training, they had some friend that had been there or a family member. They were like, maybe came from management. They were all like kind of already adopted by the brand in one way, shape, or form, right? And then you got me, the convict. Now, nobody knew I was a convict. And that was also kind of a blessing because nobody asked. So, and I'm not about to scream it from the mountaintops. I learned my lesson. My one bro who actually does HR and does really, really well, he would tell me, like, listen, man, you ain't got to give them the whole farm, man. You ain't got to be Mr. Honesty all the time. You ain't got to, doesn't mean you got to lie, but you ain't got to go in there and sit down and say, hey, I'm a convict. You know what I mean? And that's not exactly what I was doing, but I was always up front because I don't like things to creep up on me. So I like to air it out right now. Like, let's get this out of the way right now. So you're not going to leave me alone. So, but I learned to just be a little more quiet about it. And I believe if I had not been, I would have never had this opportunity. So anyway, I go to the test out and I got 100% pass on the first test, but I didn't have a studio to go to. So basically nobody wanted me because this person had that person that they were coaching under, and there's only so many opportunities. So like, you talk about disheartening, I put in all this work. And I'm not going to say that I was the best at the test out because there was other people that had done the test out like 3 times that had been, members for years or employees for years. But I will tell you that I definitely performed in the top 3 out of 16 people. And I want to say like 6 of those people actually got jobs. I was top 3. So clearly it wasn't my skill or, my ability that prohibited me. It was the fact that I wasn't in anybody's particular circle. Well, no love lost. I'm not soft, y'all. I went back to the drawing board. I kept shadowing. I took a little break because I was a little discouraged, and I just kept doing my thing. And at the time, I was doing donation classes. I was doing donation yoga in the park, and some little side hustles for friends and whatnot, just in terms of private training. But I'm trying to get in as a full-time coach. So finally, I get a text from the dude, Matt, and he's like, okay, here's your shot. They got a coach's training coming up. This is it. So, but it was in Palm Harbor, where the other one was in Tyrone, so it was close by. So now I was like, damn, I got to ride all the way to Palm Harbor. And it's during work hours at Pause. So Pause operated on like a point system. If you're late, you get X amount of points. If you miss a day, you get X amount of points. And then, if you get so many points, you're out of there, like most corporate jobs. So I had never been late. I had never missed a day. But when they started that test out, I called in on all the days. I'm not going to miss one day of that coach's training, y'all. You're not going to tell me no. And then I remember the day that I was supposed to do the actual test out, Hunger Games. I remember, I'm not going to lie, y'all, when I would be in my car and listening to my music after being constantly, or even in the bus, I used to get real emotional. Thinking about everything I've been through, thinking about how far that I've come, thinking about how I could be dead, how all the homies did, how my best friends are dead or, on drugs and just all these losses. And I'd be, like a crazy person with tears in my eyes, but fired up and ready, using it as motivation. And I remember I was listening to Pac. I was listening to the Machiavelli album, right? I don't even remember what song, but I'm bumping that shit, and I'm just like, I'm gonna go out here, I'm gonna do my best, and if they don't fuck with me, that's their loss, because I already know what I'm bringing. And let me tell you something, I did that test out, and I was never salty. I was never salty with any of the people that denied me the opportunity, but there were some new faces in here, right? Some people that I hadn't seen. They had the head coach from New Tampa, the head coach from Brandon, the head coach from Palm Harbor, head coach from West Chase, all the head coaches, right? Because what they're doing is they're scouting talent. And if you don't know about this brand, it's a pretty big deal. Like, it's a big brand. And the way they look at it, like, it's an honor to work for them. They don't just hire anybody. You got to be vetted. You got to go through this hazing process. You got to show that you want this, right? And you got to show that you are actually willing to bring something. And you got to do a whole lot of work before they even think about paying you, right? But you got to realize by now I'm like 100 classes in. And what I didn't tell you is when you're preparing for test out, I used to take the mic. So I've coached their classes for free, right? But to show my hunger and to show that I'm willing to do this, right? And whatever it takes to get better, right? And what they used to do, and these people have vouched for me, these people that initially I don't even think liked me, but they learned to respect me. And I know in the end they love me and I love them because, you know, we built teams together. I say teams because I ended up being in studio to studio. But what they would do is they would critique me. They would take these notes and write all these things that they didn't like that I did. And a lot of it was solid, but I'm not gonna lie, a lot of it was like, oh, you use your voice in this way. It's like, that's my voice, man. What the fuck you mean? But other things were super solid, like, okay, slow down on this, take deep breaths on this, maybe don't talk so loud, wait to drop the music, right? And so what I did is I would sit in my little tiny little living room in my 500 square foot apartment, and I would film myself. And then I would watch my tape and I would go back and I would time myself because the demo has to be done in less than 90 seconds. I have to show you how to do all these exercises. I have to cue treadmills, cue rowing machines, do all these things in 90 seconds. And I have to do it properly. I have to do it eloquently and I have to do it in a way where you can understand me, right? So I would watch myself and I would take those notes and I would apply them every time. So then I'd come back and I know they'd see it. They'd be like, damn. So now those notes that they're writing, they're getting thinner and thinner and thinner, right? So now I take it to test out. I put in all this work, right? I got the no, right? But I'm determined. Like, you're not gonna tell me no today, bro. No. So I'm listening to Pop. I'm on the way to this test out. I'm driving from Pods, which is like Largo to Palm Harbor. And I'm like, fuck it. They're either going to love me or hate me, but I'm going to do my best. And if they don't, fuck them, because I already know it's their loss, right? That's where my headspace is. Man, I go in there and I motherfucking rocked that shit. These head coaches, even the dude that was coaching it, right? I'll just call him Jay. Big Jay, real cool dude. He was like, bro. And then the other chick that I didn't know, they're like, they're just supposed to be scoring me. They're like, man, you had me wanting to work out. Right? And I'm not over here trying to toot my own horn. I'm trying to tell you that if you want something, you stick with it. And you stick with it. And you stick with it. No matter. I can't tell you how many people. I mean, my own dad, no disrespect, but my own dad was like, aren't you sick of that? Like, they keep beating you up. They don't appreciate you, man. You figure something else out, man. You know what I mean? And not just him, other people. But like, listen, I knew this is what I'm going to do. And you're not going to tell me no. And I'm going to outshine. And if you want to make this a competition, then I'm winning. Because when I went in there, and it wasn't a win or lose, but they felt me. And here's the thing, even though I outshined, this time probably 98, 99% of the coaches that were already set in positions to have jobs, I still didn't have a job. So I remember this chick, Lisa, shout out Lisa. Real cool chick. She was the head coach in Brandon. And she was like, giving me much praise. She was like, listen, come see me in Brandon. I got a job for you. Now, what she didn't tell me is she was already fully staffed, but she liked me so much that she wanted to give me an opportunity. So now this time I passed, but I passed and I was a sub. So the regional director dude, who he's he is who he is, but just not a genuine dude. I'm just gonna say that, and I'm not gonna call his name out. But if he wasn't genuine with me, I'll say that. It's like, some people they get their mind made up on you a certain way, and then they have to see other people how they perceive you to decide when they want to start. It's like I get a lot of respect for people like that, because I make up my own mind. I am my own man. Like, be who you are and have your opinions. Like, but don't be so easily swayed, right? That's just fake to me. But anyway, not to get off on a tangent, but Liesel was like, look, come see me. I got a job for you. And then the regional dude did say, he's like, listen, you are on as a sub. So what I suggest you do is you go to all the studios and you introduce yourself and tell them that, you know, you are now a sub and that if they ever need a sub, that to holler at you, right? So I would always go at the 5 a.m. because that's when the coach gets there and gets ready, and I can help them get ready, and they appreciate that because they're probably hungover, you know, half drunk and getting there late, right? So, and I can be a floor coach because I'm certified and I've passed, so I'm an official coach. So you know, I can help them spot, I can help them with real busy classes, help them with intros, new people. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going around to all these gyms, and when I say all these gyms, I'm going from South Pasadena to New Tampa or Bruce B. Downs. I'm going from South Pasadena to Brandon, right? I'm talking about 5 a.m., right? Just to introduce myself, right? And a lot of these people are like, man, who the hell are you? And I walk right up, I look right in their eye, give them a firm handshake. I'm like, hey, I'm Mike. Hey, if you ever need a sub, I got you. And then I would take their class. I would high five all their members. Yeah, I'm Mike. And the people are like, who the fuck is this? And I would make sure to punish their workouts. Because how you going to follow me if I'm not doing what I'm telling you to do? So I would go and I would punish these workouts, and I was in good shape. And they see the energy. You're going to feel the energy. When you see somebody working out, you know what they're made of, right? So I'm doing it at all these studios. So I'll recap. Brandon, New Tampa, Palm Harbor, Clearwater, Tyrone, South Tampa, right? And I'm introducing myself to every single head coach. Hey, if you need a sub, I got you. If you need a sub, I got you. And sure enough, you know, because a lot of the people that would do that, they didn't really need money. They just did it because it's kind of like a status kind of job. And but there's going to be that time when they have to go to a wedding or they have to go do something and nobody would be there. So you know, if they tell me I have to sub, I'm stopping everything I'm doing. I'm calling pause. I'm like, yo, I ain't gonna make it today, right? So now I went from no points to like racking up crazy points, and I remember I reached a turning point where like I had to make a decision because the head regional dude, who I told you I wasn't that fond of, he was still offering me opportunities, but I'm telling you, like, I put myself in a position where like, okay, we gotta take this dude now. He ain't going nowhere, right? So he hit me up. He's like, listen, I need like these 3 days at Palm Harbor. I need these 2 days at South Tampa. He's like, can you do it? Well, those were pause days. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to call in. And here was the turning point. It was pouring down rain. It was like a Category 1 hurricane or something. Everything's closed. Everything. I call pause. I'm like, hey, listen, I can see the road right now, and it is underwater. There's no way I can make it. Oh, well, Mr. Milo, if you don't make it, you're not going to have a job. So I jump in my little Nissan Altima. I look at that water, and I just hit the gas, and I start going through it, and I was doing good, and then I went down this little dip. As soon as I went down that dip, all the water went into the motor. All my rods got bent up. I stalled out, and then I tried to push it out of the water and tried to turn it over again. It was it. I'm done. I killed it. No money, nothing saved up. You know, I'm living check to check. And this is back when all of my bills were like $1,000. Wow, don't we wish we could go back to those days, or at least have those type of bills, right? So all my bills were $1,000, and I had no money. I had no credit. My dad pulled up. I'm like, Dad, like he had AAA, so I used his AAA. He pulled up. So I'm sitting in his car waiting on the tow truck, and my dad's just laughing hysterically laughing like a crazy person, like, you're fucked up, your shit's fucked, you're fucked. And I'm just like, bro, I'm like, I have no money. I'm like about to cry. I'm ready to strangle my dad. I'm like, what is funny about this? What is funny about this? I have no money. I lost my job because I didn't go to work, and you're laughing. But I'm not gonna lie, like I couldn't help but to laugh too. So I'm sitting there laughing like a crazy person. No money, no job, because clearly I didn't make it. And so when the storm finally calmed and the water dried up, I walked my ass over to the bank. There was a Wells Fargo right there in Pasadena. Right, that was my first bank. Now, Before I left the street, I had about $25,000 in credit card debt. Well, when I was in Williamsburg Medium, I went to this class that was run with one of the Nation brothers, the Nation of Islam brothers, and he would teach you how to write off your credit. Right? This ain't no shady shit. We would just dispute. So this man taught me how to write, and shout out to my bro, I don't remember his name, but man, if you're watching this, I appreciate you, bro, because you did me a solid. I wrote every single creditor. I wrote TransUnion, I wrote Equifax, I wrote all that, and I did that certified mail. I just spent extra money so that, you know, I'm doing it all legit, and I wrote off all my debt. I disputed everything, right? Well, and my credit cleared because I had been gone for 8 years, and your credit clears for 7. So I had no transactions for 7 years. Credit clear. But I didn't know that. I had never done a credit check. I hadn't done any of that. I was just paying for everything in cash, right? I had a debit card. Well, I go to the bank. I apply for a loan. They approved me for $40K. I had an 805 score. So now I have no money. I have no job. But I bought a truck, and I didn't use it all. I think I took out like $19,000 loan. I bought a pickup truck with like low mileage, and it was a 4-cylinder, so 2-wheel drive. I call it a Florida truck. It was like a lifted Camry, because now nothing can stop me from having to drive through all this rain, having to drive through all this water. Like, you're not going to stop me from going to work and doing what I got to do, right, to get ahead. So I got the truck. But before I got the truck, I remember I had to open at Brandon. That was the one opportunity that Lizo gave me. Shout out to Lizo and Brandon. So, and those were my only scheduled classes, 5 a.m. and 6:15 at the Brandon Orange Theory. And so when my car was blown up, I had to take my debit card and I had to go rent a car, right? I had rented some, like, whatever cheapest car I could get. And that's what I had to use to go teach these classes. Now, try to understand, these classes aren't paying that much, right? So 5 a.m., the class is dead. I think I was making like maybe $15, $20 a class. I'm spending more on that on this rental car and this gas. But when I tell you I want something and I'm about to go after it, man, there ain't nothing you can do to stop me. No rain, no storm, no nothing. No broke, no none of that. You ain't going to tell me that I can't do something. Nobody, nothing. So I get in, so I go teach these classes, and I end up, you know, I gotta show up and show out. So every class I put my all time. I'm not gonna lie, I used to cry on my way to these classes. Like, and I couldn't tell you if it was joy, if it was anxiety, if it was fear. It was just me being crazy as fuck. I'd have tears running down my face on the way, Tupac blasting. You know what I mean? Like, on my way to these classes. And then when I go in there, I go in the bathroom, I wash out my face, and I come out, hey everybody, right? At every single class, right? And the people fell in love with me. So then I went from that class to, I ended up talking to the head coach at, now mind you, I have no job, I have 2 scheduled classes, and I'm barely getting by because I'm hustling, but the hustle is what kept me afloat. So, and I'm like, let's say Clearwater needed me, which was a whole nother network. Like, it was a different ownership group, but I could still go sub there. So I would go, you know, sub for Clearwater. I'd go sub for Palm Harbor. I'd sub for, you know, wherever, South Tampa. Like, those were my ends: South Tampa, New Tampa, Brandon, Palm Harbor. So I'm hustling between these. And I used to love to teach South Tampa because the classes would always be full and they'd be lit, but they were the hardest crowd. But I love that because, like, no, y'all might not like me, but I guarantee you by the end of this class, you're going to love me. Right? And that was the philosophy that I took to every single class. So in the process of doing this, now I got a full schedule at New Tampa. I had to earn it, y'all. Right? So now I have 2 studios. I'm in Brandon. I'm in New Tampa. I'm gradually coming up. And then they start doing these award shows. So I start getting these awards. And the funny thing is, my one homeboy, he's like, he starts seeing me post online about all these awards. Oh, Rising Star. You know, I got Rising Star one year. I got Team Player Award. That was some bullshit. They gave me Team Player Award because they weren't giving me what I wanted. I kept asking for a closer studio because I live in South Pasadena and I'm going to New Tampa. Well, the Team Player Award was like, yeah, we're not going to give you what you want, but we appreciate you, right? And then they gave me Coach of the Year and MVP, right? But my bro is hilarious. He's like, that's what white people do when they don't want to give you a raise. Hey, no lies detected. No lies detected, y'all. So throughout all of that, I'm like going through a lot. But I think this is a good time to wrap things up, right? So I'm in Orange Theory. They're making me out to be like this rock star through their brand power, which is really a blessing because, I could have just taken that brand power and took off with fitness if I wanted to. But I actually did appreciate just being able to show up and be great and not have to worry about management and owning a business and all of the headaches that go along with that. Because in the meantime, I'm still in the studio. I'm dropping little blocks here and there. Now, mind you, I've done a few shows and done some, opening acts at what was once the local 662. Shout out to the homie Big Kev. That's one thing. You did sell me a couple dreams, homeboy, that you never followed through with. But I ain't hating because you gave me some pretty good shows too. So I got to give respect where it's due. He gave me some pretty decent shows, and so I got a little buzz with the music. I got a big buzz with the fitness, and I'm trying to figure out how I can marry these two or segue deeper into that music. But the fitness is paying me. The music is costing me money. So I just ended at that, y'all. For now, I'll pick up on episode 14, and we maybe have one, maybe two more episodes to this season. I appreciate everybody checking in. If you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button, hit the like button, hit the notification button. Drop some comments, y'all. Much love, y'all. I appreciate everybody tuning in. It's Live Struggle Legacy. We build pyramids.
Live struggle legacy. It's a whole movement.